everybody. Welcome to the Dead Drop Podcast. I am your host, Jon F. Merz, and we are on, what is this, episode 23. Wow. Okay. So, 20, 21, 22. Oh, yeah. It's been about a month since I resurrected the podcast, and as always, I would like to thank you all for tuning in, whether you are listening right now on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, or anywhere where you get your podcasts, or if you're watching me on YouTube, because we video these things now. So here we are back again with another episode. A lot to talk about. Last week the big news was that I booked a role in that feature film. So I have since then gotten a very nice email on last Friday from the director of the movie, welcoming me to the production. In his words, welcome to our little movie, even though it's a major motion picture. It was a pretty cool thing to receive. I'm not going to lie. To think that the director of a major motion picture reached out to me. I'm sure he sent this email out to everybody, but considering that this is the first time this has ever happened for me, I was more than a little excited about it. So I wrote him back and thanked him for it. And then this week I've heard from the wardrobe costumer on the movie, getting all my sizes and stuff like that. So again, totally brand new experience, and it's pretty wild. I don't know what else to compare it to. Definitely some waypoints in my writing career, but in the acting thing, I've never experienced this before. So all of this is really cool stuff, and I'm pretty excited about it, to be completely honest with you. So so since we're already talking about that, I guess we'll kick off the podcast today with our acting segment first. So, aside from, I'm just looking at my notes here. Aside from the stuff on the movie, which I still can't really reveal, although if you live around where I am, you might be able to figure out which movie it is based on if you know how to look for things that might be going into production soon. You may be able to figure it out. But if you do figure it out, you didn't hear it from me, because I don't want to do anything to jeopardize my standing on this movie. So as far as I'm concerned, you're not getting any of these details from me. But you could probably figure it out. If you look long enough and hard enough, you will probably be able to find it. Like I said, I will give out details as soon as I am permitted to do so. Or if certain information becomes public, I will pass it along to you. But until that time, I'm sorry, but I have to make you to go and search for it. But like I said, besides that, it's been a fairly busy week. Been a bunch of self-tape auditions. One for a fun series of commercials that had me doing any number of things. I was pretending to be a judge in one of them. I was pretending to be a veteran in another. I was pretending to put a shirt on and start my day in another one. That was all for the same project. And then the other day, I got a notice for a major commercial, both TV and radio. Excuse me. And so I set about setting up the self-tape for that. And the email that I got from my agency had come with the creative brief, storyboards about how this commercial was supposed to unfold once they had it properly cast. And, this, that, and the other thing. So I read through the creative brief. I read through the storyboards, set it up the way they wanted it to go, and sent over to my agency 3 takes that I thought showed a little bit of a range. And my agency was very happy with it, and got back to me and said, this is great, we're going to send it over. And so 5 hours elapsed, and my agent excuse me, called me back or emailed me back and said, we've got some direction from the people who are doing the casting on this, and here's some of the feedback that they'd like you to retape and include, make the changes where appropriate. And I thought, all right, that's fine. I'll do a couple more takes. So I did the takes, sent those in, and about an hour later, got another email from my agent saying, we have more feedback from the casting people, and here's the feedback. And this time around, the feedback was completely counter to their initial feedback. So now I'm thinking to myself, this is getting to be a pain in the ass, quite frankly. And what made it more of a pain in the ass was that if you're watching this on YouTube right now, you can see I'm sitting in front of my computer, but this back wall here, I've painted it so that it makes a really nice backdrop for self-tape auditions and stuff like that. I can light it. I've got, right now there's a light behind me. I've got two other lights off in front of me, plus whatever the light that's being thrown by my computer right now. So it's an environment that's that's well suited to self-tape auditions. However, the casting people wanted me to shoot all of this stuff in my kitchen. And my kitchen right now is going through a slight renovation process and does not look nearly as good as my office does. But since that was one of the requirements, I said, fine, I will haul all of my lighting gear down to the kitchen, try to find an appropriate space to do it in, a decent backdrop that I can light. And, you obviously want to show yourself off in the best possible light and add a little production value where you can for the casting people and if they show it to clients and stuff like that. So, it's a little bit of extra effort goes a long way, as I've always felt. But after each time I self-taped, I broke the whole thing down because it's in the kitchen and people need to cook and eat and all that other good stuff. So after each self-tape, I would haul all my gear back upstairs to my office here. And then I got the first feedback, brought it all back down, redid it again, brought it all back up. And then I got the third one, and by now I'm getting pissed off because not only is this a royal pain in the ass, but it's also, the feedback is just all over the place. Like, they don't know what the hell they're looking for. And it's really starting to piss me off. So anyway, so I sent 6 more takes over. And it was really kind of my, look, I've sent you 11 takes at this point. If you can't figure out whether I'm what they're looking for or not, then it's not even worth my time and effort to do this anymore. So that happened. And when I sent the final 6 takes over, I asked my agent, I said, by the way, just out of curiosity, who is handling the casting on this? Because I've never dealt with this before. This is a little ridiculous. And at that point, it was late enough in the day that my agency was closed, so I wasn't expecting a response right away. But I did get one this morning. And let's just say when I found out who was handling the casting for it, I said, well, that explains everything. Now let me break that down for you a little bit. Here in Boston, we have a number of amazing casting agencies. I'm not going to name them by names, but they're the sort of places that are organized. When pre-pandemic, when you used to go in there, you would have an assigned time slot, you would be scheduled, they would go out of their way to make sure that you were comfortable. And what they're trying to do is bring out your best performance, because if you do well, it makes them look well, which only makes sense, right? I mean, if you're casting people for something, you want to put the best possible foot forward. As an actor, as a model, you want to go in there, you want to know your lines, you want to be professional, you want to be nice. The same thing applies to the casting agency. There shouldn't be this sort of a demeaning attitude towards the talent, because if the talent doesn't do well, then the client is going to either think, well, we didn't see the right people, and if we didn't see the right people, then that's the casting agent's fault. So it's in their best interest to make sure that you look your best and to run things well, this, that, and the other thing. Boston has a number of really, really good casting agencies, and they're run by really fantastic people. However, not all of them are like that. And in this particular case, the one that isn't run that well was the one that was behind this casting. Now, I've gone to this particular casting agency a number of times, and it's always a shit show. That's just the truth of the matter. Nothing is organized. If you have a time slot, they oftentimes do not go by the time slot. They often go by the sign-in sheet that is waiting when you come in. And you just never know what you're going to get. So pre-pandemic, whenever I would have to go over there, I would always give myself plenty of extra time. I would show up early because you don't know how they're operating today. Some days they're going by the schedule. Some days they're going by the sign-in sheet. Some days it's just a free-for-all. And you got people lined up, waiting to be seen, and this, that, and the other thing. So as I was reflecting on what a shit show the self-tape that I did yesterday was, I was remembering other occurrences at this particular casting agency where the experience has been much the same. And that's really not a good thing, because if a client goes to a casting agency and says, look, this is the creative brief, these are the storyboards, this is what we're looking for, and really the creative brief and the storyboards were extremely detailed in this case. So much so that when I read them through, I said to myself, okay, this is clearly what they're looking for. Not a problem. Let's just do it. However, when the casting agency doesn't read through the creative brief or doesn't understand and ask questions of the client, then you get what we got yesterday, which was a complete and total shit show. And so, knowing who this casting agency is, I am really not optimistic that I am going to be the person chosen for this, because honestly, it's the face of a brand, and considering that the feedback was all over the place, I'm not even sure what the hell they're going to send to the client, that the client's even going to see, quite frankly. And you can't control that. Obviously, it's up to the casting agency. But usually what happens is the casting agency will ask for a couple of takes, 2 or 3 takes, and then they'll send those all over to the client. Considering I did 11 takes yesterday, I think it's probably extremely unlikely that I am going to wind up in booking that job. Now, I could be completely wrong. I could end up being the person that they decide to go with. But given the craziness of yesterday's self-tape for this gig, I just don't think it's realistic to even expect that I would be looked at, which is a shame, because it's a really well-paying gig, and I would love to book it. Don't get me wrong, but it got to the point yesterday where the feedback was just completely the opposite of what they'd been saying. And not that I was rude to my agent, but I just basically said, look, they've seen me. If they have further direction, they can direct me on set. And then so I was talking to some other people yesterday and some other agencies, and they were having the same problem. and they were some of their talent was saying pretty much the same thing that I was saying, which is good because you don't want to be a diva about the thing. I mean, if people want to see a couple of different takes, that's not a problem. Nobody has a problem doing that. Nobody has a problem if casting comes back and says, "Hey, can you make it a little funnier on the end? Can you be a little bit more serious here? Blah blah blah." Great, no worries. But when casting says, "Hey, can you do the line, then do the laugh in one of the feedback, and then come back and say, okay, no, he's not doing it right. It's supposed to be the laugh, then take a bite, and then give the line." And you're like, well, which one is it? Because in the creative brief, it says this, and now you're telling me that it's this. So, yeah. So there's a little bit of insight into some of the stuff that is happening now in the world of acting post-pandemic. Even we're not even post-pandemic, mid-pandemic, I should say. In the world of self-tape auditions. So you have to deal with this and be ready for it. But it certainly helps when the casting agency itself is doing things professionally. And if they aren't, then what you get is what happened yesterday. So I'm sure I'll have more news on that within the next week or so. And again, I'll be flabbergasted if I book the thing, but what the hell, right? I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I tried, at least 11 times yesterday. So there you go. We'll see. All right, moving on. We're going to be doing what are we doing next here? Oh, I guess we will move on to writing. So stay tuned. We're just going to take a quick break. Okay, welcome back. So the writing section of the podcast. Right, so some of you know, and I've certainly talked about it, over the spring, I went through a major productive streak because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to come out of this pandemic having written a literal crap ton of stuff. Not a ton of crap, a crap ton of stuff. It's just an important distinction there. But in July and August, I took a break because I was a little burned out. I'd written, 4 novels and change, a couple of short stories, a couple of novellas in there as well. So I needed to give the batteries a little time to recharge. This week, I have started back up and written a short story, sort of my first standalone short story in a long time. Well, no, wait, that's not true either, because I wrote the D&D short story back in the spring. So it's really since the spring. So anyway, I wrote a short story. What the hell? So it's about 4,200 words right now. And since it is starting to get cool into summer, into fall, you guys know it's my season. I love this season. I love the fall. My birthday's in October. I'm a Scorpio. Groove on this. I love the fall. My creative juices get flowing. Things go out of control. I love it. So I started writing a story, and that led me to think about how I could kind of put together a really cool project with POUNDCAKE. So I am sort of announcing the project right now. Basically, it is going to be a series of short stories. All of them will be horror, released in time for Halloween, if not before that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And it's going to be a multimedia project. Let's put it that way. I'm not ready to give out the full details yet because I haven't written all the stories. And I don't want anybody else jumping on this bandwagon before I'm ready to let you all know about it. So I'm going to take quick pause here because my son is texting me. Oh, no, I don't need to take a quick pause. He's getting dropped off by a friend of his. There you go. So now I've included my youngest son, Will, in the podcast. How about that? Anyway, back to the matter at hand. Yes, so the first short story is called The Longest Walk, and it's about 4,200 words. I started writing the second one today. I started The Longest Walk the other day, and it just flowed beautifully and nicely, and I'm very happy with it. And I started the second one this afternoon. And I don't really have a title for it yet. I mean, I kind of do, but I don't want to give it away. So just hang loose and hang in there with me. Yeah, so there's going to be a series of those, and they will be all horror related, and things are going to get interesting in October. Let's just put it that way. So, also, what else is going on? Oh, yes. So the audiobooks for the Blood Armageddon series, those are out right now for narrator auditions. So I heard from Joe Hempel at Fireside Horror, and he's going to sort of wade through a whole stack of hopeful narrators for the series. And he's going to send me over probably the top 3 or top 5 to listen to. And we'll choose from there. So it's kind of exciting. I can't wait to get these things out in audiobook form. I think it's going to be really interesting. I've had a lot of fun writing that series. I need to get the next book going on that front, and I will. But you're going to be able to buy those audiobooks, I would imagine, if not by the holidays, then probably sometime in early 2021. Again, everything when it comes to production is crazy right now given the pandemic, but I think there's going to be a pretty decent timeline on there. Joe's moving ahead pretty quickly on it, and I'm really excited to see what comes about as a result of that. So the entire series will be available in audiobook, and that includes the unwritten book yet. As soon as that's done, I have to shoot it over to Joe, and he will get that into the pipeline for production. And then you will be able to buy those, just like you can buy books 1 through 4 in the Lawson series right now. And you can also buy the audio versions of the Shadow Warrior series. Those are out through Tantor Media as well. I don't know if any of you knew that, but both Undead Hordes of Kangul and Slavers of the Savage Catacombs are actually out in audiobook format for right now. So please pick those up. Tantor does a really good job on those. And interestingly enough, Joe, who runs Fireside Horror, did the narration on both of those for Tantor. So he doesn't just own his own company, he actually does audiobooks for any number of big audiobook publishers like Audible and Tantor and Graphic Audio and all these other guys. So Joe's an amazing narrator in his own right, and now he's branching out. But those books are available. So I think I've got like six audiobooks right now that you can hear from, and then we'll be adding to that. Those will all be available as well, and I'll list them on my amazing all-on-one page on my website. If you haven't been out there recently, it's jonfmerz.net/all-on-one. And you can see a listing of literally everything that's available right now, every book that I've written and published, and underneath each book cover, you'll see, where it's available as an ebook, a paperback, audiobook, that sort of thing, excuse me. So don't miss that. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely head on out to my website and check it out. So what else? Is that about it on the writing front? Yeah, so things are going to be cranking up, obviously, on the writing front. As I mentioned, the fall is a really special time for me every year. It's really one of the spans of time where I feel really supercharged and energized about writing, and other things as well. But I mean, when it comes to writing, the fall, just for me, I love the season. I love the cool nights. I actually, some of you are probably going to be aghast at this, I actually put on a fire last night. I painted the fireplace about a little over a month ago. No, that's wrong. It's only a matter of like 2 weeks ago that I painted it. Anyway, it was regular brick, and I painted it all white because my wife had suggested that it would look better white. I wasn't sure about that beforehand, but now that I've done it, it looks absolutely amazing. So she had the right idea. The fireplace just looks great. And I've been dying to put a fire on, but it just hasn't been cool enough. Well, the last 2 nights, it has gotten cool. And so I finally said, the hell with it. I'm going to put a fire on last night and have a nice cocktail in front of it. And if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you know how fond I am of having a cocktail in front of the fireplace. Or 2 cocktails. Sometimes 3. Or 4. We max out at about 4, honestly. I'm 51 now. Anything more than 4, I'm just setting myself up for absolute disaster the next morning. So yeah, 4 is usually the max, and usually it's far less than that. But put on some good tunes, sit in front of the nice fire, and have a nice stiff drink is not a bad way to end the day in my book. So anyway, last night we did just that. So cool nights in fall, cool mornings. The leaves are changing, and I'm just gearing up for hopefully a wonderful season. And I'll turn 51 in October. Well, some of you know when my birthday is. I'm not going to tell the others of you, or maybe I will. If you go back to Dead Drop last year, you should be able to figure out when my birthday is. But yeah, so that's coming down, and then of course Halloween is my favorite holiday. I don't know how it's going to look this year. I mean, I don't know. Chime in, drop me a line, drop me a comment on the video, or elsewhere that you're getting this podcast. Let me know what you guys are all doing for Halloween. Are things like crazy in your town? Are the kids going to be allowed to trick or treat? I mean, I really hope they are. I can understand the need to be safe and everything, but man, I can't think of anything worse than kids not being able to trick or treat at Halloween because of this pandemic. We haven't figured out what we're doing yet, but both of my boys are they're 18 and 15, so they don't really do trick or treating anymore anyway. But hopefully we'll get things figured out, because I just can't think of anything worse than that. And I love Halloween. I've always been a huge fan of it. So maybe we'll do something interesting. Well, I already am. I mean, that's the multimedia project that I'm talking about, that I'm not really talking about because I'm not giving you any details yet. But that will be fun. That'll be something to stay tuned for, and we'll make sure that at least from my end, I'll try to give you something decent to look forward to when it comes to Halloween this year. So, but yeah, so more updates on writing to come. Some big projects. I think I'm going to be getting going on Zombie Rue episode 3 at long last next week. And again, I'm going to be plowing ahead on a bunch of short stories for this multimedia project, and we'll go from there. Back in a second to discuss production work. So, I think I mentioned last week that we had done some filming. POUNDCAKE this is. So Chris and I had done some filming on a new series that we are working on. And I'll give you the backstory on this series because I think it's kind of funny. I bought a vehicle mount for a DSLR camera, and basically it's just a series of suction cups that attaches to your car, and then you can mount the camera on that, and you can get some really cool video footage that way. So I took it out when I got it. Excuse me. When did I get that? Probably, let's see, shortly after the holidays last year. Yeah, I think that's when I picked it up. And I took it out, and I mounted it on the vehicle, and I shot looking out, I shot looking in, this, that, and the other thing. And I sent it over to Chris, just showing him some footage, and he put all these filters and effects on it, and turned it into this sort of a 80s bad copy of a VHS tape sort of look, and came up with this whole story idea behind it. And if you go out to our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/POUNDCAKE media, as you should, and please subscribe, and scroll down to the teasers and the trailers that we have out there of some of the projects that we're working on, you will see something called The Tale. and literally all it is just me driving around and the camera kind of looking at me while I'm driving. So it's got that cool kind of effect, but it's also got the filters that Chris put on it to sort of turn it into this sort of looks like an 80s crime thriller slash drama. Well, anyway, we've altered the storyline just a bit, but the tale is going to be coming out very soon. We're going to be cranking through the production of some of the episodes on that, and we filmed the first one. I have not seen any footage from this aside from a couple of quick screen grabs that Chris sent me. So he is still editing that, but I'm excited about it because it's going to be fun, and it's turned more into almost a buddy series. So if you think Midnight Run, which was a great movie with was it Charles Grodin and Robert De Niro, it's going to be along the lines of that. It's going to be tongue-in-cheek kind of comedy, and I'm excited about it. Interesting story. I saw Midnight Run when I was working at a movie theater back when I was junior and senior in high school. So I saw it repeatedly, and then Chris mentioned it to me. He said, "Do you know that movie Midnight Run?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know that movie Midnight Run. I know it probably backwards and forwards." So anyway, that's what we are working on right now. So you heard it here first, because I don't think I gave away too many details last week's episode. But you're hearing it here first. The Tale, a digital series starring yours truly and Christopher Grace, will be coming out fairly soon, as soon as we get through the production and post-production on it. And that'll be something to look forward to. We'll be releasing that on the YouTube channel, so you'll be able to watch it in installments. And I'm not sure how many seasons we're going to go or how many episodes we're going to have yet. Chris is busy writing those out, probably as we speak right now. He's probably hard at work crafting the words that will lead us inevitably to the release of The Tale. So go on out to youtube.com/POUNDCAKE Media and check that out. Let us know what you think. And yeah, we'll be doing some other stuff as well, but I'm not going to really talk about that just yet, especially since the multimedia project that I was alluding to earlier in the podcast here, I haven't even discussed with Chris yet. So Chris doesn't even know about this multimedia project. This is just, it's been up here in the old noggin, and I have to loop him in on it. So as they say in certain circles. I don't know if he's got the right security clearance yet for it, so we got to check that out. No, I'm kidding. Of course he does. So yeah, I'm going to loop him in on that project, and we'll go from there. That is going to do it for episode 23 of the Dead Drop podcast. I had a bunch of stuff to talk about this week, and I'm glad you have all tuned in to watch and or listen, or both. Maybe you listen to it on the way to work and you come home and you're like, you know what? I just don't get enough Jon F. Merz. I have to watch him on my TV screen as well. So if you do, thank you. I appreciate it. And if you just laughed out loud at that and thought it was just completely ridiculous that I said anything even close to that, you're welcome. Because it is ridiculous, but it's also kind of funny. So hopefully it'll put a smile on your face. We can all use more smiles these days, that is for sure. All right, I am out of here. You all have a wonderful week. I will be back next week with another episode of Dead Drop. Until that time, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. Take it slow, friends. Don't be too hard on yourselves if you're not getting everything done that you want to get done. It's a crazy world we're living in, so find your peace, find your solitude, find your harmony wherever you need to go. All right? You guys take care. I will see you next week.